Well, my lumber has arrived and I'm getting started with the loft construction. I've got 3 heavy-duty sheets of 3/4 inch plywood. It's actually measured in, I think it's 64ths or 32nds, 23/32. So I got my 2x6 by 12. Look, check this out. So, you know, this building is 66 years old this year, and it survived a lot. But there are only 2x4 stringers or rafters being used to tie the end walls together. And you know what? So far, that's all it has needed. But by doing what I'm doing, I'm really beefing up the structure of the building, because I mean that's shit. I'm just gonna say it. That's just shit. I'm also going to be relocating all this electrical at some point to this new piece here. It's just really chintzy, but it's held up really well, I have to say. All right, I disconnected the garage door opener. We're going to just take it down, get rid of it, because it's going to be in my way, so I just got to go. And the way to take these down, as far as I know, is to just unbolt them from one end and let them drop down, and then unbolt the other. So I'm going to do that right now. Get that out of the way. Just get it over with. I cannot find my freaking hammer. Fun fact, in the United Kingdom, did you know they call hammers jolly bangers? True story. I cannot find my jolly banger. Where is it? Last used it on, oh yeah, so I built most of my loft, or framed it, so that happened just now, and yeah, so that's moving right along. The problem is I can't go any further. I have 3 more rafters to put in. There, and there. Problem is, yeah, what's the problem? Oh yeah, the problem is the garage door rails are mounted to this rafter, so I need to replace this rafter because it's just shithouse, and we're taking it out. So in doing that, I need to remove all of these staples and remove the boxes, and everything is going to stay where it is. I'm just going to slide it out of the way, and then I'm going to put the new rafter in, nail it, put all the stuff back, and then we'll build the new hanger for the new garage door. I think that's how we're going to do it. At least that's kind of the plan. But I need my hammer. What the hell did I do with it? There it is. Okay. It was outside. Anyway. So as you probably noticed, I have removed the garage door opener completely. Just took it all out. This way, it's out of my way, and it's removed. So one of the things I'm trying to do is get as much done as possible before the door arrives, so that the door installation day is really focused on just doing the door and the rails. I don't have to do wiring. I don't have to do structural work. I don't have to do anything else. Now, I also have to block the rafters, or there's probably a term for this, but I'm calling it blocking, where we take some 2x6 sections, we cut them down to 16-inch, or probably 15 and a half, or whatever the distance is between the two, and we stagger them like that. And what that does is it prevents these rafters from twisting under a load. If you ever look under in a basement, you'll notice the same idea. Okay, so here is my, these are my floor joists, and you'll notice that we have this cross bracing here. You can do that too, but I think it might be a little easier to just use sections of 2x6 and slide them in. Now what these do is they prevent when the joist is under a load, it wants to twist one way or the other. And what these are going to do is it transfers that load to the other floor joist on either side, whichever way it wants to go. And it prevents that joist from twisting. And that's how you get your maximum load, static load limit to be up as high as it can be. be all that you can be. Sometimes you'll see these made out of metal. You know, that's the thing. I did some more work to the loft or mezzanine or whatever you want to call it today. So what I did is I added some blocking, and I actually talked to a carpenter that I know who's also a building inspector. I asked him, this is what I use, this is what my dimensions are span wise. Would this be a red flag for a building inspection? And he didn't seem to think so, but he did say that make sure you block it every 4 feet. So that's exactly what I did, and it's 12 feet wide, so there you go. Now, if this were a floor rather than a ceiling rafter, if this were a floor, it would not pass building code because of a technicality. So grade 2 lumber, which is what I used, has a maximum span, 2x6, a maximum span of, I think it's 9 feet in a floor joist application. But I believe in a ceiling joist application, or a ceiling rafter, the maximum span is actually like 11'9", so it just barely makes it. I didn't want to use 2x8s, which is what if this were a live floor, like a living space, 2x8, I believe, is the minimum for this kind of a span. But had I used 2x8s, I would lose another inch of height, and I would have had to relocate even more electrical wiring. So and not only that, but it's overkill for what it's being used for. Well, folks, today is the day this door is coming out. And over here, we have the new door. There it is, all boxed up. This is how it came. It actually came from a door distributor, not from Lowe's directly. I bought this. This is the Pella door that Lowe's sells. It's actually manufactured by Amar. And these are the springs that it comes with. I wanted to go with a torsion spring, but that was not an option unless you bought it from the door manufacturer. Actually, I think there are ways to order these with a torsion spring. A torsion spring actually mounts above the header of the door, and it's just a coil spring wound around a pole, basically, and you don't have these extension springs. Now, one of the benefits of a torsion spring is that if it were ever to break, it's isolated to that pole. It's not going to go flying. These extension springs, when they break, and they do, they rely on a safety cable to prevent debris from flying everywhere. I don't think these are bad. I just would have preferred a torsion spring. But it was going to cost me a lot more money, I believe, and that's why I did this. So, anyway, what else do we got? I've got the hardware box. Let's take a look. I want to see what's in there. Clear off my workbench. Turn the lights on. Might be a Might be a nice thing to do. There you go. So when you buy these doors off the retail shelf, they come packaged a little differently. So I actually ordered the door because I wanted it delivered, and when they do that, they ship it from a company that actually produces doors. It's really interesting. Not really, but it's different. Not what I was expecting. So this looks like my warning labels, possibly some instructions, pulleys and cables. It's a little intense. I gotta be honest with you, I've never done a garage door before. I feel a little more confident today. I think I can do this. I don't know what this is for. These are hinges. Oh, good, they're not plastic hinges. I heard that some of these actually come with plastic hinges, and that's kind of nightmarish. They're metal. There should be some lag. Oh yeah, so we do have lag screws. I was wondering about that. So I got lag screws. The redhead ones are for items that are under tension. I didn't know that garage door installations are dangerous. You can hurt yourself very badly doing a garage door if you do it incorrectly. So, word of life. Looks like some shrink tubing for something. Oh, that must be for the cable ends. I gotta read the instructions because there's a lot of stuff here. Anyway, step one, I want to make sure that the new panels are in good shape. So I'm going to bring them inside. We're going to open the boxes, make sure they're not dented, scratched, dinged, because I don't want to tear this sucker out and find out that my new door has to be replaced. Okay, so the first two panels look pretty good. Did you notice they're actually, looks like they're pre-drilled for the hinge mounts, which is kind of helpful because it helps you keep things, in line. So, now the door that I bought, this is another thing, is they don't stock this door in the store. I wanted one with windows that was insulated with the metal on both sides. All the ones that they sell are not this door. So, if you want this door, you have to order it. So, fairly lightweight, very durable. Probably not going to last 65 years like this beast, but that's the world we live in. Here's our bottom panel. It has the rubber gasket on the bottom edge. This one should be the window panel. Oh, there it is. Now, with the door like this, you have an option of using the included window grates or not. I will not be using the window grates because I think they would look stupid on this house. See the door across the street from me? That's kind of the look I'm going for, but I'm going to put the windows on top. So you can put the windows on the top or the second below. Or second from the top, like this one is. That was a look that was very common back in the day, but I think it looks stupid, so I'm going to go without the grates. They actually sent, the grates were included, they were in the cab of the truck rather than in with the doors, so these are kind of an option that they include, but you don't have to use them if you don't want to. Which I never intended to use in the first place. But there they are in case I change my mind. Just put them up in storage for ever. Okay, so there's the new door. Now the fun part. We got to pull this door down. Then I've got to pull the wiring off of this beam here, and we're going to replace the beam because that's no longer structurally sound, in my opinion. And so, yeah, a lot of work to do. So let's start by getting this door out of here. And to do that, I have to release the tension on the springs. But first, I've got to clamp the door in position. I'm going to put these aside. Try that again. Okay. Top of the travel. letter. Ah, here's one. We gotta unhook all the springs, cables. Now, these are springs and cables that were installed very recently. Actually less than a year ago. Now, here's another thing, is I have all hardware that, all square nuts and bolts. I believe I can get those with a 12-point socket. Pretty sure I can get them with a 12-point socket, but let's just confirm that. And they're just finger tight. Because of course they are. Yeah, I think I scratched the shit out of that door. I feel like a dumbass. Cable out of here. Alright, we got all cables and springs removed. Now we got to drop her down. Ideally, you'd want to do it a little gentler than that, especially if somebody else wants the old door. I actually really, if I didn't have someone who was taking the door, I was going to just let it go. But that would have been awesome. Yeah. We're now at the point where we need to remove all the hardware. We're going to do the door panel by panel. So we're going to start at the top, work our way down, take the panels off. Let's get on it. Okay. Yeah, you can 12-point sockets, they work real well on square nuts. But they're painted, so and I think what's going to happen is a lot of these are going to be grab an extension. Actually, you know, I have a better way of doing that. Hold on. Yeah, this will make the job a little easier. Wind with that. So what you're supposed to do when you're pulling a door panel off like this is you're supposed to secure it with a screw or something. There we go. Now, when I remove all the hardware, the panel won't fall on top of me. The hinges just come right up. We're going to put them in a bucket for later reuse for whoever is taking this poor, sad old door. Yeah, look at this. So the top roller is the one that gets the most brunt, or the most damage, and yeah, they're played. They're done. They're eaten up. All gone. So I've encountered a stubborn carriage bolt that's spinning on the outside, but the nut won't come off because the bolt is spinning. So I have a solution that I've just dreamt up, and I'm going to see if it's going to work. Let's see what happens. So I've got a saw blade, a hacksaw blade, behind the bracket. I've pulled enough of the bracket away to get the blade there. I've got my drill. I'm going to put it on high speed, and I'm going to just see what the hell happens. Here we go. Well, it worked. Now we can move on. Okay, our next step, we need to pull the top panel off. And I'm going to have to find a place to put it. I'm going to throw it on the floor over here. There you go. Oh, nail there. Oh, these don't weigh anything. These don't weigh anything. There we go. Made a little more progress. The saw trick worked really well. So yeah, I'm going to keep doing that. Okay, door's out. Now I got to do the rails. The fun thing is, or not the fun part, but the good thing is now that we've taken one apart, we know how to put one together, theoretically. This is going to be a little bit fun, yeah. That's it, fun. Gotta be honest, it's kind of scary what I'm seeing here. The bolts holding the top rails in place were finger tight and loose, coming out of the wood loose. Not good. At least 3 bolts and the door hinges themselves snapped off because they were completely rusted through. It's just stuff that makes you go, huh? Right size. Not loving it, guys. Glad I'm doing it now. Or somebody gets hurt. Or my car gets hurt. You know, like that. I meant to do that. A big part of being an adult is learning from your mistakes and not taunting others for making those mistakes. Remember that. See? So much easier. Look at that. You see that? That's just, ugh, gross. How's the other side look? That's just gross. God. Now, if I didn't have to reframe part of this, we'd be ready to put the door in right now, but I've got to pull all this off that beam before I go any further. And then I gotta pull that beam out, which will be fun. Step 1, remove all electrical. Done. Step 2, we gotta get this piece of crap out of here. And just like that, we've transplanted that beam. I've put the wiring back up. And see, I want to get this stuff done so now I can focus on the door. I actually did put 1/3 of the floor in place. It's all screwed down. I will have to sister this joist here because unfortunately, yeah. So that's got to happen. As a matter of fact, at the center point, I do need to double up these joists because I'm going to send the loft this way. It's going to be framed parallel. And to do that, you need to have doubled up joists. So, anyway, I think now is a good point where I can just sort of stop doing this. I got the wiring in place. Now I'm going to start putting the door together. That's going to be a very careful operation. I've never built the door before. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but it's got to be done one way or the other. So this header is split horizontally with the grain, but it's not rotted. It's actually in pretty good shape. So we can reuse that header. Okay, so we're at a point where I actually moved along a little bit slower than I had expected because I had some issues. The hardware kit that was sent with my door does not use those cheap straps hinges. Actually, I got an unexpected upgrade, I think. These are a very heavy-duty hinge compared to what is included with most of these doors. So the installation guides do not reflect that. The strap hinges go in very differently from what I have. Now I want to compare, check this out. These are my old door hinges. And these, they don't make these anymore. These are like deck plate. I mean, just very hefty compared to this. But yeah, so I've been moving along very slowly. I will say this much. This is a job that I do not want to screw up. Because if I do screw it up, it could cost me in the end quite a bit. Okay, we've got 2 panels in now. I got to get the other panel installed, and then we're getting there. When I put the side tracks in place, or the vertical tracks, I secured them temporarily with screws, and I've now taken those screws out and replaced them with lag bolts, now that I've got everything plumb in position. So I'm going to now put in the top panel, and we'll see how that goes. We're going to take a nail, secure that in place with a nail. Okay, so we've got one track hung. Now we're not done yet. I still need to install a cross brace, which is something that the original door never had, which is freaked up. But anyway, so I'm going to do this side now, and then once I have it all in place, I'm going to give the door a test run. I'm going to try to push it up into position, and then we're going to see how I did. Check the track with gaps and all that happy crap, and see how she goes. I am really getting hungry, and I do need to get some more lag bolts. Unfortunately, I don't have enough lag bolts to finish the job, so I might take a ride over to the Home Depot. The good thing is I can do the rest of this in the garage whether it's light or dark out. But I don't think I'll be able to finish the loft today. So one of the things you've got to know is when you buy a door, it does not include the track hangers. You have to buy that. And what you do is you actually buy you buy the stuff in stock, whatever 8-foot length, whatever you need, and then you use a sawzall or a hacksaw and you cut off what you need. This is 14 gauge steel. This is what the manufacturer recommends. The original door, as you saw, was hung by a piece of 2x6 nailed to a 2x4. That doesn't fly today, and I'm pretty sure it didn't fly 65 years ago either. That's just what they did, and God only knows why. So I'm going to go ahead and hang the next track, and then we'll get another one of these cut. And I think I cut it to 19 inches long. So yeah, I'll go cut another one of those. Okay, we're now at a point where I've got the tracks in place. I've checked their levelness. They're within level of each other. They're spaced evenly. They're secured with lag bolts where needed and appropriate. I still have to install the spring balance hardware, but I want to see if the door even works. Well, okay. Yeah. I think it's good. All right, let's lower it down. Oh, track screws aren't tightened down. On that side. Okay, I've got the angle braces cut and installed. Man, that Milwaukee, DeWalt, you can't call it a sawzall, that's a Milwaukee name. What is reciprocating whatever, chop saw? Anyway, look at that. Like a knife, hot knife through butter. That thing cuts right in. I also had to swap out the bolts that are mounted on the end of the rails. Those are the stop bolts to prevent the door from doing that, from going off the rails on a crazy train. Well, we're all strung up, and I think what we need to do now is see how she does under her own spring power. I remain cautiously optimistic. I will have to make an adjustment to these tracks because it's actually hitting the pulley bolts that the lift cables are attached to. So, or the pulleys that the lift cables are sprung from. So, I'm going to get out of the garage. I'm going to do my locks. This is going to be tedious. Okay, here we go. See what happens. most part, we're in good shape. But it's still hitting on the edges, so I've got to push the brackets out a little bit. All right, at this point I've got the whole thing adjusted pretty proper and right, so it doesn't bind, hit scratch puncher. So yeah, unfortunately, I do have a bit of a strike right here. I may have to push the track out a little bit. Oh man, so while you guys were all sleeping last night, I was working on this door. So, a couple of things. I had to make some adjustments to the track. Now that I have the door up in the up position, I can now level the door, level the horizontal tracks. Just take a level, stick it on there, and then drop and adjust as needed. So I had to drop this side down one hole, and that brought me to a perfectly level track. But it doesn't end there. Let's get this out of here. Okay. Look at that. All nice and finished. So we've got a nice, sturdy platform. Let's take a walk up there. Let's see what it's like. Now you'll notice that there's no plywood here. That's okay. Right now we're not at a point where we're gonna do anything with that. Another time, once I get this all finished up, I'll order more lumber and I'm going to go ahead and loft the rest of the garage. But right now, that's going to stay open. It's fine. So let's take a walk upstairs. Wow. Look at all this square footage I just gained. I just gained a shit ton. And watch my language, whatever. I just gained a shit ton of storage in this garage just by lofting it. And it didn't really cost a lot of money. It's pretty solid. This whole project, without the door and the lift, this whole project set me back, probably about $300-400 for all this lumber. About $400, maybe a little more, because I did have to go back and buy a few more sticks of lumber. But other than that, it was it didn't cost a lot to do this. And you can even, let's take a look over here. This is so strong. Probably stronger than a lot of the framing in the house. Take a look in there. So yeah, I mean, this is it, man. This is it. The spiders living up here. Oh, real quick, you'll notice that some of these joists are kind of at an angle, and that's because the spacing on these studs isn't exact from one side to the other. So these aren't straight on from here to here. They're not completely parallel. They're off by 1 or 2 degrees, but that's okay. It's just a garage, and I think we framed it well enough to where it's not going to fall apart. So, I think we're good. Okay, so here's where we are. I've got the opener temporarily suspended. I marked off a center position or center point from there to there. I found it to be right about there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open the door, and we're going to just verify that it lines up with the lift hook on the door. I'm using 2 bungee cords, not just one. Bungee cords aren't really good for this sort of thing, but it's what I have. So let's just open her up. And let's just see. Yeah, you know, I think that's A-okay. So that's good. All right. Last night I watched a couple of videos on garage door installation, Specifically finding one with these hinges. These are actually the better hinges than what you typically get with a homeowner grade garage door that you buy at a box store. It turns out that because of the way my door was ordered, it actually left the facility with the heavy duty hinges that cost a little bit more. They're 14 gauge steel rather than 18 gauge, and they are not those proprietary strap hinges that break all the time. So I'm very happy about that. But like I said, the instructions that I received with the door do not match these hinges. So anyway, I had to position them differently. So as you look here, we've got position 1, position 2, position 3, and as they go up in position number, they actually stand off a little further from the opening. So that is why, yeah. So I had done it wrong the first time. Now it's done right. So there we go. All right, let's get this thing mounted up. Well, it's done. All done. I got the seal installed all around. I'll put some caulking in there for visual appeal, but it's all sealed up. I've got a keypad. And a remote. I put in my magic code. What is it? It is listen to how quiet that thing is. And now for the epilogue. You know, this project was way more complicated than a typical garage door installation. Because of my unique situation where I had fairly inadequate framing supporting the original door, and I really needed to do a lot of additional side work. I had to reroute some wiring, for example. I had to reframe it, and while I was there, I figured, why not build a loft? So there's my loft. You know, it needed a lot of additional work, and I'm one person. Unfortunately, timing was bad. My girlfriend wasn't available to help me lift things into place, so I had to do it all myself. You know, she has her own side gigs going on that she has to tend to, and I respect that. And I really didn't want to ask anyone for help because I really kind of wanted to do this myself, my way. And I'm fairly meticulous on a lot of things that I do. Everything has to be just so. So rather than drag somebody else into my mind, I figured, why not just do it myself without any help? And I succeeded. And I didn't screw it up. Even though I had never installed a door before. I know how doors work. I know roughly what to not do. And I pretty much avoided some of those pitfalls that a lot of homeowners end up falling into when they install their own garage door. One of the things you've got to really be aware of when you're installing these doors, especially if you don't really have any experience doing so, anything that is under tension is a risk, is a potential death hazard. I mean, you can die. You can actually die installing a garage door. Yes, it's happened. Not to me, obviously, but it has happened. And, you know, that's why a lot of the door manufacturers do not encourage people to do it themselves, because they can be severely injured. If not now, it could happen later. You could leave something loose, improperly install, you could fail to install the safety cables properly. And before you know it, you're sitting you're working at your workbench over there, that spring lets go and launches that pulley straight through your skull. Laugh, but it could happen. And that is why installing a garage door is not typically a DIY project. But I'm not the kind of guy, and I know some of you are the same way, and I'm not going to hire someone to do this because, again, I had a lot of additional work that had to be done that if I had paid someone to do this, number one, a garage door installer isn't going to rebrace everything like that. They're going to try to reuse what was there, and they're going to charge me a premium for it. But I had to, redo everything. And that's why it took a little bit longer than it usually would. I looked up somewhere on Google that installing a garage door for a homeowner could take up to 9 hours. I think I have about 18 or more. I also had to replace all the exterior trim. I did that a couple weeks ago. I had to redo all the exterior trim. I tried to get as much work done while I was waiting for materials to be delivered as I possibly could. So I actually had the door delivered. I had the lumber delivered because I don't have a truck, and it was a reasonable fee. They delivered all the lumber to the side of my driveway, and that worked out pretty well. But it's just one of those things where everything kind of fell into place. I was able to pace the project out over time. It's funny, this project started out with a rewiring of the garage. When I bought the house, the original garage door was wired in. So there was one outlet right there. There was one outlet, and it went straight to the kitchen circuit. So the garage didn't even have its own circuit. And now we're on 2 circuits. Lighting and power. 20 amp. It was on a 15 amp kitchen circuit. And the garage door opener was plugged in with one of those brown appliance extension cables. It has like 3 taps on one end, and they're really cheap. You get them at a dollar store. And it was run up and draped over the beams and over the rails, and it was really dangerous. But anyway, so here we are. It's done. It did cost me a little extra because I had to, I did all this framing. So I'm very happy with the end result. The door works fantastic. I actually ran out today and I picked up another garage door opener. And when I installed, for my girlfriend's vehicle, I have one. Now we have one for every vehicle. And I've got, of course, the wall switch here. And I have it mounted. You can mount these directly to a wall, or you can mount them in a box. So I picked up another heavy-duty Carlon box, and this actually will control the light. See, but all's well. This project came out really well. So let's open her up. And down. Now it's suggested that I coat the springs in silicone lubricant to prevent them from prevent surface rust. Yeah. So I might do that real fast. Maybe tomorrow I'll get some silicone spray and we'll spray all the springs. One of the things I don't like about the extension springs is that they are noisy. It seems to be fairly impossible to get them to run silently for some reason. But that's just the nature of the beast. But it's all done. I think I'm supposed to use the red lag bolts on that bracket and that bracket, but I didn't do that. I should probably take care of that. But whatever. It's all done. All done. This almost looks professional, and I am an amateur. So All right, guys, that's enough for today. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed my video. This is not a how-to video, so if you're looking to install a garage door, I suggest you watch as many videos on YouTube as you can, and you're going to learn from other people's mistakes, and you're going to learn from what they have to bring to the table. I'm in no position to do how-to videos on this stuff because I'm not a professional. As a side note, yes, my Chamberlain garage door opener has the MyQ IoT built in. I will not be using that feature. I don't feel any real need to. I have a keypad on the door frame. I have this button here, and I have 3 openers for 3 vehicles. I do not need to open it with my freaking cell phone. I think that we're getting a little crazy with that now, and it won't be long before people realize the horrors of integrating IoT into their homes. In fact, I just saw an article about how hackable the Google Nest cameras are, and their children are being spied on. Yeah, I'm all for that. I'm all for not integrating IoT in my home. Oh, real quick, yes, when I was talking about being meticulous, I mean, I ran all my wires exactly a certain way, and I even drilled holes into the joists to run them straight through. That is not what you're going to typically see in a consumer homeowner install. Usually they're going to just tack the wires with freaking push pins wherever they feel like, and I've seen a lot of really crappy installs in my life, and I try to make my installs, whatever it be, a garage door opener or whatever, I try to do things right and make it look good, make it look like somebody knew what they were doing, and that's my goal. I forgot to pull that screw out that I used to hang. Actually, I might just leave it there in case I ever have to take this thing down. I'll leave it there as a safety measure. But anyway. I can't wait. Oh my god, I just realized something. I still have these. I bought these when I moved in. I wasn't sure if I was going to have to... See, I had to fix the original door to make it work a little bit better than... Well, it didn't work at all. But anyway, I bought all these rollers. I never used them. These are the old-fashioned steel ones. But... Oh. You know, put them in the Goodwill box. I'm not going to bring them back. I can't bring them back a year later. So, those are going to have to go to Goodwill or something. Yeah. Alrighty. I came, I went, I saw, I left.